Hello and welcome to Genealogy Quick Start. How are you today? We have another show for you today. I'm Shamele Jordan, your host. And of course, we have a newsletter that you can subscribe to. We send out to let you know who our next guests are. And of course, you can watch us on our YouTube channel and live on Facebook, as well as, we're a Philly Cam show, so you can watch us on Philly Cam. And so, what do we have going on here today? Today, we have four keys as well as a quick start. So, Michael John Neal is here today to talk about frankly researching Frank. I love that. So we'll see what he's going to be talking about there. And I am just it's like this fall is like get the reunion ready. And so I want to share some things that you can do, because as a genealogist, you are one of the key people in your family reunion. And so I want to talk to you about things that you can do before the reunion, doing and displaying family history. And so you know what to do if you're here. I love to know where you are. And if you're a member of a genealogy group, which we all should be, please put it in the chat so we can, in the comments, so that we can see. And that's whether you're watching live or if you're watching in the recording. So without further ado, we have one missing quick starter today. Jim BEIDLER is not here with us today, but of course we have genealogy tip of the day, Michael John Neal. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing pretty good, Shamele. How are you? How are you?
I'm doing good. I've been running into a lot of beginning, like, how do I get started? What do I do? And we have a lot of different types of people watching this show, new people and people who've been doing it for 30 years. You've been doing it for so long as well. And in the time you've been doing this research, is there like one thing, like if there was only one thing that you could tell someone to do that will make a difference in their genealogy, what would it be?
Don't do it. No. It's kind of there's several things, but the thing I guess that comes to mind is tap into people's memories and record that as soon as possible. It's other things hopefully will be there, but and even if you've got a little bit of hesitancy, some people don't like to, reach out to unknown people, so to speak, or relatives they've never interacted with before. But that's something you really should do, because, if you've done it for a while, you may realize, oh, I wish when I started, I'd talk to Uncle Herman or Aunt Susan or third cousin Beatrice or whatever. So you kind of want to lay the groundwork and do those things sooner rather than later. Those records will still be there, hopefully, and that kind of thing, but those memories may be gone when that person passes, or something happens and their memories are gone no matter what. So yeah, tap into those human sources, I would say, first, before, if you're looking for one thing to do.
Most definitely.
Because no matter how long any of us have done it, we often think, I wish I'd and even when you've done it for a long time, there's always questions when somebody passes you wish you could ask them. You can't prevent that, but maybe you could minimize the number of questions you wish you'd gotten asked.
Yes, let's get out there and interview our living sources. Who do we have here today? Yay, we have Aries here from Dallas. Hello, Aries. Anita Payne's here from TNGS, AAGS Cleveland, and Fayette County, Tennessee Family History Group. Yes, you guessed it. Anita's a genealogy junkie. Hi, Debbie Klein from Raleigh, North Carolina, one of the Genealogy Wonderland Spaces. Hello, Valerie Ann from Philly area, GSP, Genealogical Society of Pennsylvania. Hey, Tamika Strong, how are you? I missed you so much down there in Georgia on GGS, the Georgia Genealogical Society, and OGS Metro Atlanta chapter. So nice to have you here. Hey, Dr. Shelley, nice to see you. Jean, another genealogy junkie. Hello from Collegeville. And you're in Illinois for a few weeks. Enjoy Illinois. Yes, I am aware of your many groups. And Dr. Shelley agrees. She seconded Michael's don't do it. Yeah, once you get going, it's just like, so Michael, you have so much. When did you get started? Like, I cannot remember your origin story. When did you get started?
I got started in 1981, I think was the year. My brother had to do one of those trees. He was in the 3rd grade at the time, I believe. And I just wanted to know more and was curious. And it just kind of ballooned, mushroom, whatever metaphor you want to use, from there. And, but it's like I mentioned before, there's always going to be those questions that you're going to, wish you'd ask. So do those sooner rather than later, and don't just reach out to your immediate nuclear family, reach out to the aunts, and not even just the aunts and uncles, but the cousins and the whatnot too, because, you just never know what somebody else knows.
The neighbors and the non-family as well, because they are not usually as invested in keeping those secrets.
The one person, sometimes people will say, what's the one relative you wish you could interview who's been dead before you were born, or some such thing like that. And I really think in a few cases, I'd like to talk to the mailman.
Yeah.
And or something, especially once there was rural free delivery and whatnot, because they know a lot of the gossip and where people have lived and where they moved and all that kind of stuff. Instead of and they're more willing to maybe tell than the relatives. They may say, I'm dead, I don't want my secrets out yet.
And back then they had probably as much delivery as we had during the pandemic. Like, they had milk, they had the big milkman, you had the fish man, you had all kinds of people coming by the house. The dry cleaners did a lot of delivery. All right, so Michael, what are we talking about today? Who is Frank, and why are we frankly researching Frank? And it's like a 4-letter word with
that's the name in parentheses is his actual name, Focke. But he was an immigrant in the 1870s. We'll see his immigration story a little bit when we do the actual steps with him. But he anglicized his name to Frank and used Frank. It was not a true translation of his name, but he was one of those where if there wasn't a real translation, they just grabbed an English name with the same first letter, and so that was what he used. Anita, I'm seeing this comment of, how to engage conversation when they say you're just being nosy. If the person really doesn't want to tell you anything, they're not going to tell you anything. That's the reality of it. The other thing is, I would maybe start with things that are really non-confrontational and very, very innocent, like, where'd you go to school? What was your favorite subject? Things like that, to kind of break the ice and kind of get things started, and then let them talk and kind of work your way up to the bigger questions. And with some individuals, you really just kind of have to avoid those landmines altogether, because in some cases, if you push on those too hard, they're not going to tell you anything.
They're going to shut down. But Anita, we would like to have an example of something that you're trying to get out of them, because sometimes it's really our approach and their frame of mind at the time that we are approaching them. I know I like to put records in their face. Like, by gifting them information, they're more apt to open up. Maybe that might be one way. You might have tried that, but that's just maybe one way you might want to try. Love the
Newspaper, yeah,
question.
newspaper clippings can be another good way too.
And then once they get started talking about this thing that you've shown them and talking about that, you could like kind of slide in them questions that might not have anything to do with that newspaper article or census record, because they opened up, you know. Bring them some food, make them something, bring them some
There
cake.
you go.
What do
There
they
you
like?
go.
Especially if they want a restricted diet. You can really, you can really get them. All right. I did not say that. Be nice and kind to people for people's wellness. All right. So, Michael, so we are going to give 4 key things that helped you to be able to find out more about Frank. That's what we're doing, right?
Right. And there's going to be some kind of, I shouldn't say atypical, but some things about him that we don't always think of happening, just kind of to remind us of some of those weird idiosyncratic things a little bit.
Cool. All right. So let's look at the first key, which is that migration streams matter. Oh my God. Migration is huge.
It is. And
talk to us about migration streams.
This individual was part of a much larger migration stream from the little village where he lived. But in terms of his family, his siblings came over. He had aunts and uncles. His parents did not. And one brother did stay over in Germany as well. But he had all of his siblings except for one. He had a number of first cousins that emigrated. He had aunts and uncles that emigrated. Now, they did not all come on the same day on the same boat. It was probably over. He actually had nieces and nephews come later. So over a 25, 30-year time span, with the bulk of them being in the first 10 years of that, these people emigrated, and they settled in the same area initially, because there was an uncle or an aunt or a cousin they could stay with and work as a hired man or a hired girl, help with the kids or the farm or whatever until they got established. But, this is one where I did not realize this at first, how many of his extended family migrated over that time period with him. Not, on the same boat, but over time. It was, 20 or 30 relatives. In addition to the neighbors and all that also came over too.
And Jim used to call those chain migrations.
Yeah, I like to use streams because they're going, chains kind of suggest they're all coming at the same point. There's also other illusions with chains we like to try to avoid. But I like, obviously, and I like to use the streams because they don't all end up in the same place. They kind of migrate off and go a variety of places, and streams kind of is more of a metaphor for that than chains. So that's why I choose to use that verbiage instead of chains.
All right, so pay attention to the streams of migration because they matter. Key number 2, and we're going to show you some of Michael's cool documents that I don't think I've seen any of these before. Key number 2 is that immigrants may make return trips. You want to expand?
And actually, this individual, for a long time, I didn't realize he made 2 trips back home, not just sometimes people would make 1 trip. I have several who, when they got older and retired, went home to see family kind of later in life when they had the funds and the cash to do that. But some people would be in the U.S. for a few years and go back, earn money and go back and stay and never return. For reasons that I'm not aware of, shortly after he naturalized, when he was still in his early 20s, he went back for a few months to Germany and then came over and then stayed for quite a while before he made a trip when he was in his early 50s back home. I'm not sure if that's not when his mother died. It doesn't correlate with that. I'm not sure why he returned, but we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get in with the examples. But your person may very well have made, some didn't have the funds to go back, but they may very well have made a return trip home to see people once or twice. And what have you. It might not have been just a one-time immigration across the pond and that was it. Although for some people that was the case, for sure.
That was okay. So I love that. Make return trips. So keep looking for them. Also, number 3 is wife may keep some money separate.
Now, this really has
Mm.
nothing to do with immigration, but
Mm.
it does relate to this individual's life. As we'll see, while they were still married, um, and I'm not sure why she kept her money separate. I don't have any evidence that he had financial problems, although that's often uh, a reason for the wife keeping her money separate is to keep it out of her husband's debts or his gambling issues or whatever his issues. But there's no evidence that Frank had those issues. And it might have been that she was using an inheritance from her parents and keeping it separate, but she purchased rice land that was rather costly for 1905. And it's separately in her name. She signs a mortgage in her name. Frank has nothing to do with any of it. And I don't know if they were concerned about what might happen with their money back in Illinois, and that this would keep this Arkansas rice land investment would be totally separate. I'm not sure. All I know is the documents that I have. I don't really know the why and wherefores of why they did it, but it turns out that it was a very good investment, as we'll see when we go through the examples. So
you said rice lands. Where were they?
This was rice land in Arkansas they invested in, or she did, rather. Technically, his wife invested the money in that. And I don't think it was an inheritance unless her parents gave her money before they died, because they weren't dead. It was at least 7 years before her father died. So unless they were giving her some money, I'm not aware where she got the money, but she got it from somewhere.
Interesting. That's an interesting case. So keep an eye on the lady. She might be handling her own business. Key number 4 is to not all land claims were completed. Can you explain?
So Frank and Anna, right after they married in Illinois in 1881, they went to Nebraska and established a typical homestead claim, the 160-acre claim. Shortly after they started that claim, Frank, also started what's called a timber claim in the 1880s. And a timber claim is where you had to plant so many acres of timber. If you did that for so many years, the government would deed you the land. The intent was to plant trees in parts of the upper Midwest and Midwest that have been prairie for millennia. The government said, I think you should put trees on this. It'll work. It did once in a while, but usually it did not. And after, I think, 2 or 3 years, he relinquished his timber claim. It was right along the Platte River. The timber claim their homestead was several miles from the Platte River, but the timber claim was right on the Platte River. But for reasons that are unknown to me, Frank relinquished that claim and never did complete it.
Okay, let's look at some of your documents.
This is the deed of purchase for the rice land in Arkansas, and I believe that was from 1905. Yeah, 1905. And she's signing, I'm not sure if this came up on this image of it or not, but she's signing notes for 6 or 7 years. She's got notes due annually to pay this off. So she's buying it for $14,000 in 1905, which was a chunk of change in 1905. And they're letting a married woman do this by herself. And she's, and then there's that mortgage there, which she did pay that off. And then I think the next document, hopefully you put them in order. Yeah, this is the bottom of it. Oops, that was the bottom of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the bottom.
That was the bottom, where it just talks about the notes and the interest rate. I always think it's kind of neat to see what interest rate they had to pay. I think it was 6 3/4% or something close to that. And she paid it off because go back.
Sorry.
This is okay. This is from 1920 when she sold it. And bless her heart, it's 15 years later. She paid, I think, $21,000 for it. And this is in 1920, and she is selling it for $32,000 in 1920, which that was her husband has died by this point in time. That was a nice chunk of change in 1920.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I converted that. I don't remember what it converts to, but it was a nice chunk of change in 1920. Their son had lived on this land and farmed it for a while, and then he married during the flu epidemic, and 10 days later he died. And they brought him back to Illinois for burial, and she waited a couple of years to sell that ground, but she did sell that. But again, it's all done by her. Frank does not appear on any of those documents whatsoever. He was dead by this point in time, but he was alive when she bought it, and there is no reference in the deed and the deed of purchase and the mortgage to Frank anywhere. It's just as if he didn't exist. So I gotta love her for doing that. This is Frank's original passenger list emigration when he arrived in 1873 in New York on the Weser. He was 16 years old when he emigrated. He and another 16-year-old, Hobby Agina, I think is how you pronounce that. So they were two young kids leaving Germany in 1873. Frank had to get permission to leave at this point in time. I didn't put an image of that up because it was in German. I don't have the complete translation of it, but his father wrote a letter in support of his emigration, essentially saying he can go live with his sister, and he's a short little man, and he would not be good in the Prussian army anyway. So get him out of here is what it. It does reference his stature. I'm exaggerating a little bit of what was in there, but I think the intent was he's not military material. Get him out of here is the way I saw the spin on that letter from his father. But anyway, he and this other 16-year-old went together. They were neighbors back across the pond. They arrived in 1873 as minors. And then if we look at the next, I think I've got these in the right order. This is the index card from his naturalization. He naturalized in 1879, and there's a reference there. This was in Galesburg, Illinois, where he naturalized. And this was actually, he naturalized 2 counties away from where he lived. He never lived in this county where he naturalized, but his uncle did. There's 2 witnesses there, and we talked about the stream migration and families coming over, and the J.T. Eamon is his uncle. Now, the document doesn't say that. I know that because I know more about the family than is listed here, but his uncle was living in Galesburg and was a naturalized citizen himself. He worked for the railroad, and I'm assuming that's why Focke went to Galesburg to naturalize, because one of the guys, well, both these guys that vouched for him lived in Galesburg. They worked for the railroad.
So, Michael, I didn't ask you, where did you get this record, and where did you get the immigration?
This was the migration. Those passenger manifests are on Family Search, Ancestry. The National Archives, of course, microfilmed all those passenger manifests, and they're available on a variety of online websites. This index card, which is not his actual naturalization, but it's an index entry. Those they're actually a Soundex index to those, was done by the Works Projects Administration during World War.
WPA, baby.
During the Depression. It's another WPA project. It was done during the Depression as a way to index these naturalizations. And then these are on Ancestry. They're on Family Search as well. And then, of course, this is just an index card. It's got the volume and the page. And then if we go to the next image, you'll see the actual, this is the bottom of the naturalization, where he's actually at this point in time, a citizen. This was from 1879. And you might have noticed on the index card and at the tippy top of this form, which we didn't include in the illustrations, it's a minor's naturalization. And if you're familiar
Yeah.
with naturalizations in the United States, at this point in time, if you emigrated as a minor, you had a slightly different naturalization process.
Mm.
Minors could not naturalize, but if you emigrated as a minor, you had a slightly different process. And because we saw when he immigrated, he was 16, he was a minor. So when he naturalized, I think he was 23, if I remember right, he had a different process because he came over here as a minor. But
Okay.
then in the next illustration, which should be the other passenger manifest, this is October of 1879. He's on another one when he emigrates. And again, not really emigrating this time. He's a citizen at this point in time. He's a 21-year-old naturalized citizen. And I don't know why he went back to Germany, but he naturalized before he went back, I'm assuming, so he would not be inducted in the Prussian army, because that's why he naturalized. He maybe knew he wanted to go back for whatever reason it was. It was not to get a wife, because he married somebody later from somewhere else, but he was naturalized so he would not be inducted into the Prussian army. But this is him. There's another guy named Focke Goldenstein that's his nephew, but it's too young to be him. This is that name,
Okay.
Focke. So I was lucky his name wasn't Johann Schmidt. That would have been a little bit more difficult there. But I think he naturalized because he knew he was going to go back over, because this is within 3 or 4 months of the naturalization. He's already coming back. So he had some reason why he was going. I just don't know what it is, because he didn't leave that documentation anywhere.
So did people go home to marry to bring back
No,
wives?
I don't. That was more of a
Okay.
joke on my part. I mean, people would, if there was a neighbor girl that still lived back home, so to speak, that was single, then sometimes that would happen. But that wasn't why he went back, because his wife
Okay.
was actually born in the United States. This is
I
that.
love this. This looks cool.
Yeah, this is from the National Archives. This is where you get these records, and this is a timber culture. This is the claim that Focke started in 1883. He had to pay $14, and there's the legal description of where the property was located. But then, as also a part of this, I think it's on the back of this document, he has signed it, and that's, I think, in the next illustration, where he has said he relinquishes it.
Okay.
And this is in 1880. I think I might have cut 1886 there. I think it's really very
Yeah,
sloppy
1886.
handwriting there.
Okay.
But it can't be 76. It has to be 86. So
Yes.
in 86 in May, he's relinquishing it. And there's that statement there he's signing. Anybody else that wants it can have it, is what he's saying. And then it's done in front of the justice of the peace, or a notary public, in the county where he lived. And
So you said you got this at the National Archives?
This was at the National Archives.
And so do you have to, is there an index somewhere that you could look at?
The problem was this was an incomplete claim, because he didn't finish it, which means there's no patent or no deed.
Yeah.
And so you can't use the BLM site to find these, because there's no patent. The BLM site just has patents. And what I did, I used the tract books, the Bureau of Land Management tract books, and I went page by page through Dawson County in the area near where he had his homestead to see if there was something else. And I saw his name.
Okay. So you can do this online.
Yeah, you can. The tract books are online. This image was not. The tract books are online. They're online at Family Search, and they're part of full text search now. So you don't have to do it the long way like I did. Now you can use the full text search.
Oh, okay, cool.
To search those, and then the National Archives would have the paperwork to document the claim, because the tract books is just geographically keeping track of who's filing a claim on what parcels.
Okay, so this is cool. Something else for us to do. So it's on Family Search, full text search. We can find these. What's the heading? Does it come under that like land assessment heading? I know
These are Bureau of Land Management General Land Office tract books.
Okay, cool.
I'm pretty certain, and I may do a search for that here really quickly. I know you got to, and I'll pop that in the chat.
No, that's great. I think that was your last one. So where are we with time? Oh my gosh, we're right there. So Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
And you can still yell it out when you. You're going to put the link in the chat.
I'm going to put the link. Yeah.
These are the 4 keys for frankly researching Frank, and pronounce Focke.
Focke.
Focke. Okay. Focke Goldstein, was it?
Goldenstein. Yep.
Goldenstein. So key 1 was migration streams matter. Key 2 was immigrants may make return trips. Key number 3 is the wife may keep some money separate. Key 4 is not all land claims were completed. And Michael is putting the link in there so you can get to those track books and see if maybe your ancestors have some incomplete land claims where you can find some information about them. Michael, thank you so much. Are you going to stay around with me for my reunion one?
If you need me to, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you, because you are the Smithsonian and you will have some definite Nilsonian, ideas for this. Okay, hold on so we can get ready for our second episode. All right, welcome back. Guess what? Fall. I don't know if you are planning how many of you out there are on reunion committees, planning reunions. Put it in the chat. Shout out your family reunion. I am not on a reunion committee, but my Stanford family, yay, Stanfords, Eufaula, Alabama, are in full swing. My Toomer family, when we're planning reunions, fall, the time is huge for getting ready for the family reunion. And I don't know if you know about the National Family Reunion Institute. I am a member of that. I'm going to put their link in the chat. We give support through workshops to help you to prepare for your reunion. And so there you all, everything, not just the family history aspect, but financial, how to do fundraising, how to get younger folks involved, what kind of activities to do, how to interact with the Visitors Bureau to make sure that you're getting everything that they have to offer for your family. All right. So let me bring Michael back to help me out with this. Hey, Michael, do you have family reunions?
I do. I'm trying to put that link in the chat, but yeah, I do. Let me find you. I was messing around with some windows and you went away.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
There you are. Yeah, I'm working on that link. It's not, I put it in the private chat. You might, if you could copy and paste it in there, because it's.
Oh, I could do that for you.
I'm having some issues with all that stuff tonight for some reason.
No problem. Here comes Michael's family search link so you can get to the track books. Thank you. I'm going to be coming back here so I can get to that link so I can play around tonight. Thank you, Michael. All right. So we are talking about before the reunion, doing and displaying family history. So I've always been taught by my family and by the Dr. Vargas at the Family Reunion Institute is that a reunion is not a reunion without family history. Did you say you said you have reunions?
A couple of my families do, yes.
That's good. That's good. So do they all like call you, because you have to be like the foremost genealogy in all your families?
Sometimes it's but it's the thing about when you're doing genealogy presentations at the reunion, if you're a genealogist who is obsessed, you need to tone it down. Tone it down. Your goal is to, encourage them a little bit, not overwhelm them with dates and details and all the, you just don't, because that, if you're not careful, that kind of turns people off. You want to just find some neat things, some interesting things, and kind of leave it at, as a starting point. And then if people ask a lot of questions, you can tell them more, but too much initially, it's defeats your end game is to generate interest. You've got to keep that in mind.
I love that, Michael. You got to know your audience. Like how you
Exactly.
would present this at a genealogy conference is completely different in how you do it at a reunion. At a reunion, they don't want to hear how the sausage is made. They just want the highlights. Which famous people am I related to? Where the slaves? And where's my Kunta Kinte? And have you figured out where we are in Africa? Like, I don't know what your family asked for, but these are the
but usually, right. And usually it's, if you find some really, you don't want to do too many scandalous things because that could put off Aunt Myrtle, but neat little, you gotta watch that line a little bit there. But weird things you discovered in the newspaper, perhaps, or something you found in a probate settlement that's like, great great grandpa. Well, I read where they couldn't pay the doctor bill when he died, and in the estate settlement it said they used a shotgun as payment. Those are the kinds, I found one of those in 1850.
That sounds like fun.
Those are, or I found like there was one where at the funeral it talked about buying a keg of beer in the 1880s. Those are the things that are like,
keg of beer is a good one.
Yeah, there's gonna, or I saw where they had whiskey at the sale in 1830. Those kind of little neat, not an inordinate number of them, or again, it gets too, you've just got to.
Then the church people will be really mad at you for
Right.
making their
Yeah. Limit the number of alcohol references and whatnot, but you've just got to. Yeah, it's got to be a balance, and like Shamele said, you've got to know your audience. But things that are visual, like if you've got maps and pictures and those kinds of things, are better than just
now, thanks for teeing me up. That's just what I'm going to show them, how to pull all those cool things that people like to see. All right, so Michael, thanks for being here to help me with this, but let's get started for before the reunion, doing and displaying family history. So step one I have is to use free sites, and Michael put a link in the chat, or I put a link in the chat for you from Michael. Family Search is just like one of the greatest places that you can go. We'll talk about that a little more. Also, you want to think about your state archives has stuff on there that you can grab. Your county archives might have a site. I think those are kind of like the primary, like loyalty, lineage societies have stuff online. Find that free stuff. Step two would be to locate Sanborn maps for your ancestors. So if you have ancestors that lived in an urban area, you may look out and find some Sanborn maps. So I'm going to show you the best place to go. Michael, I wonder if you can guess what I'm saying is the best place to go for Sanborn maps.
Oh, the Library of Congress comes to mind.
Ding, 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 ding.
And the good thing about these is, as long as you have an address, you'll find their map. It's not like deeds where they have to own the property to find those things. There's a lot of different sources where you might have an address and that's all you need to find a Sanborn map.
Yep, we're going to show that. Step three is to make use of community resources. So I like to call that boots on the ground. Think about it. There's genealogy groups all over. Contact the local genealogy group. They know so much. And I have another example, which I'll share when we get to our slides. Step four would be add data to lineage software. I would love to hear from you. Which lineage software are you using? Are you using Roots Magic? Are you using Family Tree Maker? What else is out there, Michael, that people are using?
Oh, those are the two big ones that come to mind, to be honest.
Legacies out there as
Legacy, yeah,
well,
legacy would be the other one. Yeah.
and reunions for Mac. Which one are you using? Are you? I know everyone's using something besides Ancestry. Please tell me that is so. All right. You know that you do not own what you put on Ancestry. I'm right, Michael. That's correct, right? Ancestry owns what you put into your tree.
Well, they can integrate it into their big tree, if you will. Yes. And into their, especially if you don't mark it as private. Yeah. But it's gonna come up in search results for sure.
Let's see. We have Shelly Murphy is using Roots Magic. I like Roots Magic. Debbie is using Legacy. I like that one too. I just made Roots Magic my primary, but I need to look at Legacy. I kind of like to look at them all like every 5 or so years, because sometimes I just like to move. Step 5 is to print and share charts and reports. Anyone out there print out like those long or big charts for their family reunion? How did you do it? I would love to hear anyone who has done that. Michael, have you ever printed out one of those big charts?
No, I have avoided doing that. The thing I would rather print out are unidentified pictures, and even some identified pictures, because that will generate a lot more discussion and interaction. The charts aren't bad, but for me, the pictures just serve a good purpose too.
I have not I don't think I've ever done that. Floyd, we have to do unidentified pictures. Normally we just start calling everybody and texting the picture around, but that is a great idea. People will stand there and look at it and think, that looks like cousin so-and-so, and this is probably from this family branch. Michael, genius.
Even identified pictures are good, because somebody might, they may notice something in the background, or it may trigger a memory, hopefully a good one, when they see a picture, even when you got identified.
Yes. And step 6 is to collect and display family photos and objects. So what do I have for slides here? I talked about free sites. I know everyone is using Family Search. Oh my gosh, you have to be on Family Search. It's so much there. It also teaches you genealogy for people who might be reunion planners, but not necessarily feel strong in their family history research. And your state archives has lumps of information and indexes and stuff. And the local libraries, you never know what you might find. You never know. Let's see. So I suggest, especially, if you're trying to figure out, what do I share in my reunion? People love to look at census records. That is one of the things that kind of made me want to start doing genealogy, because my cousin Floyd would display these census records. Find those census records and put them in a display. Very easy to do, and I'll show you ways that we like to do it. Marriage records. I love sharing this marriage record with my family, because everyone expects those big, beautiful certificates. But this kind of touched a cousin in ways that I didn't even realize. He said when he saw Bill Stanford, a freedman, to Kitty Stanford, a freed woman. Just those labels alone, it hits your family in different ways than what you realize. Everybody should have these cards. We love to look at these cards. These are World War I and World War II draft cards. Michael, I like to call these like the man census. Would you agree?
I would. And the other nice thing about those is it's got their signature on it, occupation information, employment information, and those are kind of neat things that people like to know. And if you're looking for other little things to talk about or mention, I've got some relatives that worked at the Pullman car factory in Chicago. So you see that on those draft cards, and then you could pull images of that, talk about that a little bit, what that was like, because you can use that as a springboard. I mean, with the farmers, and I got a lot of those too. It's it's a little more challenging because there isn't employers' names. But you might see where somebody worked for a neighbor as a hired man too, or or something like that. There may be some clues there. So, and the thing is, it's like you say, they're the man census for World War I and World War II. So you probably shouldn't have too much trouble pulling. I know years ago when one of these data sets just came out at the reunion, that is all I talked about. I pulled all the draft cards, talked about, details in them, because it's got their demographic information, some physical description on the back. There's a lot of little neat things you can talk about, and these are good even for people for whom you've got no pictures, because you've got that physical description there, and
I love the physical description. Let's see. Oh, and these for African Americans, like once you get your people back to 1870, 1880, you definitely want to pull these Freeman Bank cards. And there are so many of them. And these are all things that are available for free. And sometimes it's going to give you, in this case, for this one, it's giving you the antebellum, sharing the antebellum family. This Ephraim is telling who his brother is, who his mother is, who his children are, and who his sister is. So Michael guessed it. The Library of Congress is the place to go to get those Sanborn maps. I love them because they kind of tell you the neighborhood. And so this one I loved because, let me see if I can make it bigger. I don't know why I can't figure it out. Okay. This one I love. So I guess the houses and stuff are usually like these yellow ones. And I guess the red are like ones that are brick, right? And this one has the Baptist church on one side of First Avenue. And look what's right across the street of First Avenue, a little temptation. The billiard hall. But yeah, this colorful one on the left-hand side is kind of like the index. Michael, is there a way to you said you can search these now by address?
No, you'd have to
you still use the index.
You got to do it the old-fashioned way. You've got to use that map on the table of content. I call it table of contents map, that usually breaks up the city, and tells you what volume or what page that district or whatever is on. And it takes a little while to find where your person is. And what you've got to remember is you need to have an address contemporary to when the map was created. So, if it's, because some cities there was a renumbering of streets and this and that and whatever, so you might have to do a little navigating of that as well to make sure you're in the right spot. But it will tell you details about, was it a wood house? Was it a brick house? 1-story, 2-story? Did they have a garage or whatever? And even like she mentioned, the church and whatnot, they give you little details about that. Those are all neat little bits of information you could mention. And especially if the house is still standing, you could compare what it appeared to look like then in reason, because you're not really seeing it that clearly, but to what it looks like today in terms of the structure and things like that. Has it changed?
And we always talk about like which church records to search. And so these would help you to see the churches that are around your ancestor that you might not be aware of. I love Sanborn maps. So go check out the Library of Congress. They have multiple years. Make sure you have your ancestors' addresses from the census records. Let's see. Community resources. This is my favorite because this is where you really get down to the nitty gritty. Like Michael said, with regards to talking to your ancestors, it's just as important to talk to the people who are local. Case in point, I'm researching a town, and we don't have archives, but the neighboring town has an archive. And when I walk in there, they have records for my town. And when I walk in there, the people who work there, it doesn't matter which era I'm going to. They can tell you about the people who were prominent, who were doing things. It's like a walking book, walking, talking book. Like I don't have to read and learn about all these people. They tell me who was the insurance guy. Oh, here are his records. So do not research in a vacuum. I don't understand people who research by themselves. Would you agree, Michael?
The only time you should research in a vacuum is when you're looking for Hoovers. Otherwise, you need to and I'm kind of glad you mentioned this because it kind of can tie into those Sanborn maps. So if you're looking at a large like Chicago or St. Louis or Philadelphia and you're having some difficulty finding the neighborhood or the house you need, that community resource, there may be someone there who's familiar with using the maps from that town that could help you navigate where to find what you're trying to find instead of you spending 3 days or whatever trying to do it yourself.
Very true. Just call them. You don't have to fly everywhere. Just call them, and they want to help. I mean, the crazy thing about these folks is they're sitting there wanting to help you out. So make sure that you contact them. And do not TMI. Oh my God. No TMI. We got too much genealogy. TMGI. Not too much genealogy information. I swear to God. Stop embarrassing yourself and us. I'm serious. I see it. It's so painful. It's like if you would just be quiet for a second and let them go get the stuff for you, you'd have the stuff now. Just tell them what they need to know to get you your
Tell
stuff.
them you're looking for, you want to see a Sanborn map of the house at 6934 South Bishop in Chicago. You do not need to go into all the details of the family structure of who's living there with their ex-wife and their fourth husband. They don't just where the house is at. They don't need to know all the other. That doesn't help them find the map.
Thank you for being specific, Michael. That was very helpful. Lineage software. How many of you have happy little trees? We should all have happy little trees, Michael.
We should.
That was my Bob Ross impression. Sorry. Are there any lineage software out there that we don't know about that you are using? Please put it in the chat. We'd love to know about it. I'm always looking for who's the new guy on the block. I know there was one that was like an online one that was like TNN or T something. I wonder if they're still around. So the other thing are charts and graphs. This is the reason why you use lineage software, because this is the payoff. Once you suffer and put in all of that information, you can then print it out using all these different charts. You have ancestor charts, you have calendars with birthdays. Families love to see that they were born or married on the same dates of ancestors. There's descendant charts, of course, family group sheets. These are perfect to get your family to help you to update the tree. Say, hey, this is what I got on your family. What's missing? Fan charts, people just like it because it's beautiful looking. And then a list of everything that you know about an individual. Wouldn't it be nice to just press a button and see that versus flipping through charts and trying to figure out which drive everything is on? Is it on your Google Drive? Is it on your computer? Pedigree charts, people love to have their own pedigree charts. Research log, you could put in what you want, where you are with your research. Timelines are great. Dr. Shelley talked about timelines. There is an episode talking about timelines. We have a lot of people talking about timelines, but if you put that information in, you can very easily print out a timeline. That was my spiel. And my software, I'm going to fess up, is an absolute disgraceful mess.
Your database is what you mean is a mess, not the software itself.
Yeah, my database.
Gary did mention, you were talking about T in the chat. TMG was the master genealogist. I think that was.
Oh no, that was. Oh no, that. Why'd you bring that up, Gary? You're gonna make me start crying. You're gonna make me start crying,
Yeah,
Gary.
because that a lot of us used that for quite a while until it had its own tombstone.
Bob was my dude, and he was at every conference, and anything you asked him about or for, he might make tweaks and stuff. But there's another one that's kind of the same kind of initials, but yeah, T. And you know what? That thing probably still works today. That's how strong it was. And everything that all the other software that they're doing, he already had that stuff over a decade ago. All right, so let's see. Those are charts, reports. Do I have any other slides? Oh, here are some of the charts that everyone loves to have. Are these fan charts and descendant charts? You can print these out. I think Family Search actually allows you to print these out too. This is something that's really cool. One family put like a tree with like the relationships, and so you could stand, it's like a pedigree, and plus because it has aunties and uncles, and so someone could stand in their space and see how everyone is kind of like related. And then on the right there is like my dream space, and Michael makes me feel like maybe I don't want to do it, but I want to print out a big chart. Has anyone printed out the really big chart for your family to come in and see? Have you? You've never done this, Michael? I need to do it.
It's just not my thing. But some people do like to see their name on the chart and where they fit, and that's a reason for doing it. Another thing you could take is if you've got family history items. This is a postcard that my grandmother wrote to her dad in 1960 something. You could take, if you don't want to take the actual items with you because you're afraid cousin Herman's going to steal it, you could just take, let's be real. This is the only one. You never know. You could take pictures of those and put those in your PowerPoint or whatever too. And those would be interesting things to talk about in addition to actual records.
So my cousin would bring letters. My ancestors would write to each other because when they would travel down south and stuff, and he would read letters and they would describe like their trips on the train, who they met and who they talked to. And he read those at a reunion. So those are endearing. And the theft thing, it's real, Michael. It's real.
I know.
And what we used to do, you know how people used to cover, and I shouldn't say used to, some people might still do this, cover their furniture with that clear plastic. Well, we would buy that clear plastic and we would put all our stuff on a board, and we would buy the clear plastic and put it over the board and staple it down on the sides.
You do what you got to do.
Go ahead.
I was going to say another thing to do might be to go through old recipes and bring one or two of those things to actually suffer through eating at the reunion, depending upon what it is. Jello with meat, I would leave those things at home, but other things.
Are you talking about hog head cheese?
No, I'm talking about people that put tuna in Jello back in the 50s. If you see that on social media, but some more palatable recipes, you could put up an image of the recipe card if you've got it, and then have that as part of the potluck if you're looking for something a little different to do too.
I think I have one more. Everyone, your ancestors' faces, put them on Family Search and attach them to their tree, people. Especially, I am calling all people of color. We need our kids and our nieces and nephews need to see our faces too, whether we love or hate Family Search tree. Let's get our faces up there, whether it's Family Search, Ancestry. Let's get our photos up there so people can see us. This is a display we did at the local library. We didn't realize how much stuff we had until we did this. We got those big giant poster frames from, a big box store and put our stuff in those, and it has the sheet on cover. So, people were so proud. People brought people to tears that they were able to see their family history in the library. So let's go through the steps for Before the reunion, doing and displaying family history. Step 1, use free sites. Step 2, locate Sanborn maps. Step 3, make use of community resources. Step 4, add data to your lineage software. Step 5, print and share charts and reports. Step 6, collect and display family photos and objects. Thank you so much. Michael, thank you for staying here. Have a great time with your reunion.